يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. أما بعد, one of the jewels that you see in the Quran that you hardly pay attention to, in Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laid 5 orders in the surah, and with these 5 orders, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the believers. He says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, 5 times. And 1 time says, Ya ayyuhan nas, O you mankind. If we follow these 5 times as exactly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders us to do, we will maintain a healthy, strong, vibrant, lasting community with no friction, with no issues within the community. And that is the essence of Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, with his message, is not just to have the ultimate reward, which is the Jannah and the life after, but also to live dignified life and to have prosperous life within the community, and the community itself live with no friction, with no any issues within the community members. And today, brothers, if you notice, subhanAllah, you notice, in our communities, the Muslim communities, we see a lot of friction between the brothers. We see a lot of problems, a lot of issues in the masajid, outside of the masajid, in the marketplaces, in the workplaces, and on and on and on. If you pay attention to these 5 orders from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will be
number 1 closer to you, for the dead.
If you notice the 5 orders from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts with Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu 5 times. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you believers, you true believers. In the Quran is mentioned 89 times. And Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said in the hadith, he says, Oh Ya ayyuhal mu'mineen, O you believers, every time you see this order, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calling upon you, respond, answer back, obey, listen. What are these orders? Number 1, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقدموا بين يدي الله ورسوله واتقوا الله إن الله سميع عليم. Number 1, do not make taqdeem, do not put anything in front of the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in front of the word or the orders of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Very simple. Brothers, the order comes in. Everything in the Quran, everything in the deen overcomes any opinion, overcomes any judgment. It is ahead of everything else. Before you think of what you're going to do, before you think how are you going to act, between you and your wife, between you and your children, between you and your neighbor, between community, how to have an election, what kind of rules, always have the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the word of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the front. لا تقدموا بين يدي الله ورسوله واتقوا الله, and fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is order number 1. Order number 2. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي. Do not raise your voices above the voice of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. ولا تجهروا له بالقول كجهر بعضكم ببعض. Do not talk about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Do not mention Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Do not talk about the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as it is secondary or lower than yours. Always the hadith is above. Don't ever disrespect it. Don't ever put it aside. Don't ever say, oh, that is something else. That is hadith. I only follow the Quran. Don't ever say that. Order number 2. Order number 3. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. Oh, you believers, if somebody comes into you with any kind of news, any kind of something that you'll be informed with, always make sure you get the sources of it. Always make sure that you got the right information. Otherwise, you're going to have the accusations, the false accusations between the community members will run rampant and completely out of control. That will cause a lot of regret in the community, a lot of problems in the community. Today, how is this applicable to us? You notice that today, where do you get your information from? Actually, where do we get our deen from? You know where we get it from? We get it from WhatsApp. We get it from YouTube. We get our news from CNN. Today, mashallah, the brothers, should say astaghfirullah. The brothers, they talk about our brother Muslims all over the world. In distant places like Afghanistan, and like in Syria, and like in Egypt, and on and on. We talk about them, and we're so adamant we know, and all our information we get it from Fox News. Where we get it from? CNN. How is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to run this community if we rely on inaccurate sources? And then we are so knowledgeable, we act with such great knowledge and authority. Oh yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Oh, absolutely. I know our brothers did this, and I know this is going on, this and that, and we don't even know the sources of our information. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا. The other riwayah, فتثبتوا. Make sure that you got the right sources. Otherwise you'll become regretful, because that's how the communities get to be destroyed, get to be, falls apart. Order number 4. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم. All you believers, don't group of men make fun of other men, because they will probably, or maybe, they'll be better than them. ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكن خيرا منهن. Or group of women, or some women make fun of other women because they might be, or they could be, or they are better than them. ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم. And do not put down what you have or the other people what they have. SubhanAllah, you find the others when they walk around, they say, oh, look the other, this brother, what he's wearing. Look how is he talking. Look at the accent that he's speaking with. Or look at the information that he's saying. Or look at the way he recites Quran. We always make it ta'yeeb. We're always reducing the value of the other people say or do, or they act, or even what they have. How often now we see the brothers in the community, we say, oh, look at this brother, look at his car. He never washes his car. Look what he does, look at the way he's dressed. Look at this and look at that. We always making lemez. وَلَا تَلْمِزُوا. SubhanAllah, look at the word, أَنفُسَكُمْ. He called each other ourselves. Like, for me, I would say, my brother is myself. Any brother in the community is myself, like as if I am doing it to myself. وَلَا تَنَابَزُوا بِالْأَلْقَابِ. Do not call each other's names. And sometimes, brothers, the names is not the names that you think. I'm not talking about the 3-letter words. I'm not talking about the cussing words. I'm talking about sometimes the names that we call each other is demeaning, it's lessening of the value. How often that we see somebody who's dressed up and his hair looks nice, you say, oh, you look like so-and-so actor. And this guy is a kafir, he's a fornicator, he's a bad guy. We call him like the other guy, his name. How about some of the sisters who say, oh, this sister looks so, like that one. She looks like this. And we call her a name, like Don Juan, and on from different names. وَلَا تَنَابَزُوا بِالْأَلْقَابِ بِئْسَ الْإِسْمُ الْفُسُوقُ بَعْدَ الْإِيمَانِ. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in his sunnah, he always called his sahaba, his partners, his sahaba, his companions, he always called them with the best names they liked. If they liked that name, he would call them that name. And if there's a name is a bad name, he would always stay away from it. Like some of the, one of his wives her name was Barra. So he changed the name, saying that that's not a good name. And before Islam, there used to be a lot of names, it was like kind of Abdul Uzza. And today, we have a lot of names going around in the, naming Abdul Kaaba and Abdul Fatima and on and on. These names are bad names. We never call these names. You pick a good name and you describe it to your brother Muslim as the best way as you can, as long as he likes it. The best name is the person has to like it himself. Order number 5. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ijtanibu kathiran min adh-dhann. Oh, you believers, stay away from a lot of surmising, a lot of thinking. I think this way and I think that way. This is my own thoughts. In the vast majority of the fun, the surmising thinking is actually a sin. It's sins. I think this person is making too much money. I think this person is doing this way. I think that person is a cheater. I think this person is actually a very pious person. I think this person is this, and on and on. We add upon our own thoughts. And that's what destroys the community. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاجْتَنِبُوا كَثِيرًا مِنَ الظَّنِّ إِنَّ بَعْضَ الظَّنِّ إِثْمٌ وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا. Do not spy on each other. Mind your own business. And the other hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is similar to tajassasu, tahassasu. Tahassasu, don't feel things out of your brothers. One of the brothers walks in and he's driving a brand new car. You walk up to him and say, MashaAllah, brother, you seem like you're doing well. You got a brand new car. And then, what else have you paid for it? What is your monthly payment? And can you afford it? And how much is your rent? Oh, you own the house. Oh, this and that. By the time you finish the conversation, we already pulled up his credit report. We already know everything about the brother. And we use this information for something completely false, completely bad. That is something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to stay away from. وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا. Do not talk about each other behind each other's faces in a bad way. Don't even mention the bad qualities in each other, even though it's mentioned, even though it is known. Don't talk about it, unless it has a reason. How would you possibly mention something about your brother Muslim if it's bad? Or it's not bad for that matter, but behind his back? القدح ليس مغيبة في ستة. This qadh is not maghiba in 6 different ways. If somebody's asking you, like in a court of law, is this person a good person or not? Is he a liar? Is he a crook? Is he whatever? You have to tell. If I, for instance, I am asking some sister who had in marriage, her father has the right to ask about me. And if you're asked about me for that purpose, you have to tell, because this is amana in your hands. And also mutadhallim. One of them is that if somebody did something bad to me, and I come up to you and say, please brother, this brother cheated me, you took my money, you did something to me. If I'm accusing him of something because of a reason. وَمُعَرِّفٍ, and this is the other one too as well. And for you to remove any kind of dhulm, any kind of transgression, like for instance, you see or you notice that, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, one of the brothers committing a sin of some sort. He's drinking or he's doing some kind of sin. So you come into there with somebody and tell them, you know what, I've seen this brother drinking or doing something bad, help me to remove that kind of sin or to give him advice. For these purposes, you're allowed to say something about your brother Muslim, but otherwise, you're not allowed to say anything about him, even though it is true, even though it's accurate. If it wasn't accurate, it's even worse. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَقَدْ بَهَدْتَهُ. It's no longer maghiba, it's buhtan. You made up a lie about him and you told about him behind his back. That's even worse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with these, if you look at these 5 orders, that's how the communities get to stay in a straight path. This is where the glue in the community stay intact. We all stay together. If we commit one of these sins we're forbidden from doing these 5 different things, you find that it breaks us apart, breaks up the community. But order number 6, which comes in, and this is for all mankind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at the end of these 5 orders, He mentions something so divine, so beautiful, to tell us that within our communities, Ya ayyuhan, He addressed all mankind. He says, we have created you from nations and tribes for you to know things about each other, for you to get introduced to new things in your lives, for you to find out new methods for you to think and act and do things. And subhanAllah, like the simplest things. You notice that, some of the brothers in the Middle East, they always look at the food that is is made in the subcontinent and the way they describe things, and the brothers in the Western world, they always look at the brothers in the Far Eastern world, they say, how do they think, what kind of wisdom, what wisdom they say. This kind of ta'aruf is actually more to help the nations to be better. But you know who's the best? You know who is the best nation, the best people? They're not the white or the black, they're not the tall or the short, they're not the Africans or the Asians or the Europeans. They're not. أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم, the ones who truly fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the best people. This is the best nation. To let you know, brothers, that if you consider yourself for a moment, you're better than anybody else. Always think and look inside of you and find out how much tuqa and how much fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala you have in your heart. And only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how much you have and how much everybody else has, and this is the comparison of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows which one is best. Our competition here, brothers, is for us to have tuqa, to have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our hearts, for us to have the true following of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for us to truly have the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be the standard, the golden standard in our lives, for us to follow it, and for us never to demean it, never to put it down. That is what makes us the communities that we should be. And if we don't act upon these 5 orders, our communities will break down. And that will cause the eventual removal of whole Muslim communities from all the earth. Will be no more Muslim communities. And the Muslim communities, as we all know, is the nucleus for Islam. Make no mistake about it, when people look at you, they don't see a Muslim man. You know what they see? They do see Islam, the actual Islam. Even if somebody would argue, say, wait a minute, Islam is in the books. The Quran is here on the shelf. You say, no. People actually, when they see you, when they look at you, they see Islam. And if we act in a way that will destroy our communities, or we don't keep our communities closed, we're actually breaking down the values of Islam overall being practiced all over the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open our hearts and our minds. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who truly follow the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from the ones who are successful here on the face of this earth, and also successful in the life after, inshallah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه غفور رحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ولا نكفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا ولا نصيرا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the rest of the ayah, when he talks about Arab, people came into Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam from the Bedouin, from the desert, and they started saying, we're mu'mineen, we believers. We are the true believers in Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam looked at them and the ayah was revealed on him. He says, قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم. The Arab said, we mu'mineen, we believers. She said, don't say that. You are Muslimin, you're nothing but Muslims. When you accept the Shahada, when you accept the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you become a Muslim. But the Iman has to enter your hearts. You have to act upon it. You have to earn it. It has to be planted in your hearts like roots of things, like a tree. And this root, as you water it and nourish it, will get bigger, will become better, and you reach the level of Iman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Who's the true believers? Mu'mineen. It's not the one who just say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. It's not the one who just makes salah and and pay a little bit of zakah and fast the month of Ramadan. It takes more than that. What it takes is إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. The ones who truly believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believe in His Prophet, and the ones who ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا, and their iman settled in their hearts. They never had this kind of doubt and this kind of shakiness in their iman. وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ. And they spend effort for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with their money and their time and their bodies and their efforts. These are the Sadiqeen. These are the ones. For us to walk around and say we are Muslims. And for us to walk around and say I make the 5 salah. And for me to fast the month of Ramadan, for me to pay zakat, it's not enough. It takes higher level of devotion. It takes higher level of giving. Giving some of my time, some of my energy, some of my money, some of my all devotion for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's how you rise up with the level of Iman. And if we don't act upon these 5 orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our Iman will be shaken. Our bond within our community will be broken. If we're talking badly about each other, if we are reducing or saying bad things about each other's possessions or things, or we're making fun of each other's, or we are not putting the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the word of His Prophet above everything else in our communities, in our hearts, in our lives, in our family, or we are not respecting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as properly as we should. All these different things that will break down our communities will reduce our iman, will become weaker and weaker, and there's no way for us to rise in a better place. In a nutshell, brothers and sisters, I want to tell you one thing. It all starts in your hearts. It all starts with your own actions. It all starts with you minding your own business, minding your own faults before you fault others. It all starts with you that you don't reduce the value that other people have. You don't talk about them behind their back. You don't call them names. It all starts with the fact that you make the word of Quran, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam above everything and anything in your life. It all is about for you never surmise, never think bad things about others in your community or in your life. And for you never to spy, never to extract information out of others. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith, if you don't have anything good to say, be quiet. Be quiet. Yasmut. Be quiet. SubhanAllah, we rush to the words that get us in the deepest places in the hellfire. And we don't realize the importance of being quiet for us to stay and not to allow our tongues to get us into trouble. We don't understand this value. In other words, keep going with this, inshallah. That is, we got to go back to the basics in our communities. The basics of being good to each other, being good to each other, in front of each other and behind each other. For us to know what is the value of the communities, what is the value of the members of our communities overall, and for us to always work on ourselves, for us to achieve the higher level of Iman and the higher level of Islam, and for us to escape this earthly life with the least amount of sins and to gain the most amount of rewards and to enter Jannah al-Firdaus. And that is the true purpose for our existence here. And na'budu Allah, for us to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and gain His maghfirah and to gain His Jannah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those inshallah. فقولوا آمين. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وارحمنا وعافنا واعف عنا وارزقنا من الطيبات يا رب العالمين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم ربنا انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم ربنا انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين. اللهم ربنا كن مع إخواننا المستضعفين في كل مكان يا رب العالمين. اللهم يا ربنا اغفر لنا وارحمنا وعافنا واعف عنا واجعلنا يا ربنا من عبادك الصالحين. اللهم يا ربنا ارحمنا وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين أجمعين. وادخلنا يا ربنا وإياهم جنات الفردوس راضين مرضيين. اللهم يا ربنا اشفنا واشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين أجمعين شفاء تاما لا يغادر سقما. اللهم يا ربنا ارحمنا وعافنا ووحد صفوفنا وألف بين قلوبنا واجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين. سبحانك اللهم لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك. سبحانك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد الخلق أجمعين. أقم الصلاة.